Hello guys and welcome back to IronCall. This of course, as you know by now, is Eco. It's quite a heavy collaborative game and we are definitely rocking it on that front. So last time you visited, we were after building our spawning chasm and our town square. But around the town square itself was looking quite bare. So as you've seen in both the thumbnail, I'm sure by now, a couple of the pictures that have been shared on the Discord, the community Discord, and you're probably watching right now on a quick show around. We finally got on and we built the library. Now for today's video, we're going to be doing it a little bit different. We won't be showing the actual building of anything. I'm going to launch straight into showing you around the building. If you have any comments you want to make about it, anything you'd like to know in particular about how it was done, any details at all that interest you, don't be afraid to comment. And guys, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It really helps me out. I'm only starting out. Anything that I can get as far as subscriptions, likes, dislikes, comments goes, it all helps, and it all helps me give me a direction going forward. So without further ado, let's get straight into the library. Yeah, it's a small build. It's kind of a joke we have on this server and every server that the Iron Knights have ever played on, is we are building small, which means that we're probably not going to be building small. But yeah, it's quite a modern looking building, this one. I had gone ahead and I had tried using the glass. Unfortunately, I'm quite particular when it comes to how something looks over the benefits you get off it, because everyone knows now that glass is a tier 2 structure, whereas stone is tier 1. Brick is also tier 2. But when it comes to putting down the glass, I just, there's something really special about these stone windows, and I really love them. So I've gone ahead and I've done it with it has dropped the structure value a little bit, because you know the surface areas, which on this building in particular are so massive, they would have really bumped it up and given me a better multiplier. And it is really worth considering when you are building a building of your own, to really decide the difference between actually achieving a building that looks good and achieving a building that is efficient and gets the most out of your points and of the build itself. Now there are ways around it, and we can do that in later videos, where you can add a coat of, for example, putting down brick and then building your entire building out of brick and putting a second layer on the outside of it to make it the visual impression you want. It does take a lot more time, a lot more consideration. It isn't as simple as just doing it because of the way blocks clip together and that, and it can take a lot of time and a lot of effort, and it does take a lot of resources as well. So you just have to find a nice balance. Now, what is the IronCall library? We're trying to do the collaborative side and focus heavy on the collaborative side. That is not just shooting on a meteor. It is also getting the different technologies researched, getting everybody the same amount of plot claims if possible, getting everybody to expand at the same time in the same way. Of course, if people shoot ahead, they are welcome to do so, but once they do it in a friendly atmosphere, in a friendly mentality. And one way we've certainly brought forward with that is this library. It seems to be a very nothing building and a very much a wasted space building, but it's what it represents in a lot of ways. Of course, the scrolls that we have and the books that we have, they would take up maybe 6 to 8 bookshelves, and then you have your counter, and that would have been it. But we wanted to make the statement of what we are doing, and that's why the building itself is so massive. It's a very large building, but I believe it's also in proportion, and as the town comes together, you can see how it fits in. Yes, it looks like a government building, but it's not restricted in the sense that it's not just a box to hold a couple of bookshelves. It is a building of purpose. Now we're just looking inside the shop itself, the store. You can see that what we do is we buy all of the books back, so people, if they want to go ahead and research technology, that they do so. But then I asked that they sell the book to the library. They will make a small sum of money. It is only 20 credits. It's not an awful lot, but it is something. It's a thank you for doing it. Of course, we can increase that cost if we choose to, if people aren't happy. We're happy to give a little bit more. But what I do then is I remove the books from sale, because we'll only buy one. We'll then go ahead and we'll get the scrolls, and I'll print off lots and lots of scrolls. And as you see, there is a 0 cost on the scrolls. The other benefit to this is people who start a server not on day 1 but maybe on day 5 or maybe on day 10 will find that they're usually a bit too far behind, and they kind of jump in and they'll look around and goes, oh well, look, there's no seeds there, there's no animals there, all the building is done, all the jobs are taken, everybody's advanced, and so on, and we know that story. But we want to avoid that where possible, and certainly one way of doing it is everybody gets to share in the spoils when it comes to the research, and everybody has been cashing in on all of these different scrolls. So when you look at the map and you're going around, you can see a lot of people have a lot of property everywhere, and that's good. It's a big map, there's a nice population here, it's a very nice active community, and it allows everybody to grow, and it really develops the server as well. If people have the space to build on, generally speaking, they will build on. So yeah, as I was saying about the bookshelves, there's quite a lot of them, but personally I do really like it. It gives a real library feel to it. One new addition this time around we've used is the lumber, and this is the third selection on the lumber wheel. It's more of it's a flooring. We've used it to put in a couple of rafters as well, and then we've used tallow hanging lamps and tallow wall lamps as well. Really nice simple touches that all add towards part of your housing bonus. These are part of the general housing bonus, so if you're wanting to use these, make sure you put down stuff like your beds, your bedside lockers, or any of your kitchen utensils in those rooms first, and then you start adding the generals afterwards, so to get the right designation. But they really do add. The same with the carpets. One of the guys on the server has progressed now to having carpets for sale, rugs for sale I should say, they're not carpets. And we're now able to use these as well, so I've gone out, I've purchased a few, and I've used them in this building as well. The staircase, it's quite a large feature, and it's of course something I could have put on the outside, but why hide something that has to be functional? Why not make that functional element a feature? And this is what I've come up with, and I think it works. It's not entirely what I wanted. If I was going to be doing this building again, I would probably go a little bit wider, maybe one more plot lane back, to give more of a depth to this building. It works really well on the library and the upstairs, but places like the staircase, it kind of suffers a bit. And if you're wanting to build a grand staircase, it does kind of hold it back. Certainly let me know what you think on it, and if anybody has any input on how to improve it, if anybody has any suggestions or even any pictures on it, that, definitely share them below, and link us onto those pictures, because you know we're all here to learn ultimately. Simple things as well, it's worth mentioning now. I did have this here as a glass wall, and glass itself, when it's been used, it'll only work as a vertical element, so it'll work as a wall and it can connect. But the windows, these do not. So you have to really start planning out what way you're going to do it, and go forward with it one block at a time and see how it works, and keep feeling it out and keep taking it up, picking it up, putting it back down, see how it works. And don't be afraid to take down what you've built. That is definitely key, because you can get it back, you get back 100% of it, and you can just reuse that block somewhere else. So don't be afraid to, be adventurous, change things around. As you can see with the rafters here, again, the rafters effect, I am quite a big fan of that. I really do like that. I was very fortunate. The line of the building also means that the wood runs in a certain line, in a certain grain. If I was going to say something about the game development, I would like it that if you could turn those blocks, so you could turn the joists, turn the lines on them. It works well in these ones, but as you see over here where I put in this one, it cuts them all quite short, and this is not something that would actually happen in construction in real life. Of course I know this is only a game and that, but it would be just one extra element where you could even come up with interesting designs of having different planks running in at different angles, or even 90 degrees to each other, and then you could use a separate design in the middle or something, and by just using lumber or just using hewn logs, you can create an interesting design in the middle of the floor. Another thing I noticed as well about the lumber, about this style in particular, is as you can hear when I'm walking around, it doesn't make any noise when you're walking on it. And this is not the rugs, don't get me wrong, this is not the rugs. You can hear it here as well. And then you go onto the steps. The steps make sound, and of course, that's the mortared stone. But quite interestingly, when you come on to the lumber does not make a sound. So I just found that very interesting, and yeah, I'll certainly shoot that on to the devs, and you know, maybe they can do something about it, maybe they can't. It's not a huge thing, but it's just an interesting quirk I noticed. The next thing is, of course, when we're looking up at the roof, you'll notice that I've gone ahead and I've integrated a slight design into that as well. Every surface on your building, if you're building it to be attractive, you should kind of try to incorporate every aspect of that build. Simple things like that little balcony I have out there, it looks well on the outside. I can't access it here. I didn't want to access it here. It doesn't serve an actual purpose. What I could actually do is remove these two windows either side and put a double door going out onto the balcony. You know, I might even go ahead and do that now in a little bit. We can see it, but it's not the idea. The idea was that we can view it from the outside rather than the inside. You can definitely get a feel for the height of the building then as well when you're inside here. It does take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it's probably just as well I didn't do this on camera, because again, this would have been a very long build. Eco is a very intuitive building mechanic involved in it, but one thing I will say for it is it can take a lot of time, and somebody recently said to me that on other such games, oh, that would have taken 5 minutes when it took me several days to do in Eco. And sure, that's true, but we're not playing other games, we are playing Eco, and there's a lot of this I really enjoy. Now we're going to very cleverly try to turn her back, because there are other projects. The server has not stopped, but we will be showing you later on. I'm not afraid to change these buildings as we go along, and I'm just going to go into flying mode here as well. Oh, there's one of my brethren, one of the foxes running around the corner. So as you can see in one of the montage videos scrolling around the panoramics, I am always making changes to these buildings, and simple things like these little gable ends and that on it, they are definitely changes. The roof itself, if you guys would like to see how we done the roofs, certainly hit a message, just shoot me directly, or you can just leave a comment below and we can get on and we can do a video on just making roofs, because I know a lot of people have difficulty with it. This one in particular, there are a couple of different levels, a couple of different styles all integrated into it. I think it works. I quite like it. Certainly the height of it compared to the size of the roof, I should probably consider the aspect ratios a little bit better going forward, but for now I'm happy with this, and certainly for this build I think it was quite successful. Just drop back down. The other thing to mention as well, guys, I had the pillars coming down, and a lot of people, they'll see the road and then this is the start of their plot claim and this is where they'll start their building, and then that's that. They will just have their building from the edge of their plot claim. One of the first things I built was the stairs, because for me, when you're going to old Victorian libraries, or if you're going to classical builds, it's the entrances are very grand. And so the first thing that I built here before ever I done anything else was I mapped out what way the entrance would be. So one of the main features on this building is the entrance, and the main feature itself is something that I built first. Which I know is going to be quite strange, because people usually go ahead and they map out the entire building, but you have to be focused on what you're trying to achieve, what you're trying to build. And yeah, for me this was definitely one of the big things I wanted to go for, was a grand entrance. But in reference to the edge of your plot, because I am the admin on the server, I have access to the roads as well, so I was able to come out here one extra one, which isn't the end of the world because it leaves us with 4 blocks coming across, which is enough to go up to the tarmac roads if we choose to. But what I probably should have done, if I had a little bit more foresight, is I should move this building back 1 onto the plot claim. And basically don't be afraid to use up 1 or 2 of your blocks on the front or sides of your building to create these interesting designs. Whether you like this design or not, that is up to you, that's your interpretation of it. But don't be afraid to use it. As you can see here, I wasn't afraid to come out and create this extra lip, just a little bit of an intrigue, a little bit more of a detail. And even though it's a fairly symmetrical building, as you can see on this side, we're going to quickly go to the other side, it's different to this side. because not everything has to be identical. Don't be afraid to experiment. And now when I look at this building, I have 2 different gable ends that I've used, and I can decide which one I prefer, or which one suits in which building. So don't be afraid to go ahead and to be adventurous and to experiment in those ways. We're actually, at the moment, we're upgrading to roads. There's one of the guys that's currently going around there, and he's upgrading one of the roads, so soon that should be finished, hopefully. And then finally, one other thing to mention is the seed bank here at the back. This is another little shop that we've built. And the idea of the seed shop is very similar to the idea of the library, so it's ideal that we're showing it at the same time. You start a server on day 1. Certainly for myself, when I join a server, the first thing I do is I go out and I try to get different seeds, and I try to get at least a small bit of farming done. If I'm playing as a solo player, I will try to make sure that I have a stable income of food. And it is something that is very, very important, because you don't want to be a slave to the economy if you are late and everybody is advanced and everything is very expensive, or you just simply can't afford anything and you can't feed yourself to be able to pick up a pick and go off and earn some currency. So what we've come up with is this idea here, where one of the guys on the server decided he was going to donate seeds, and I turned around and I created the shop. So he has permission on this, as does a few other people, and whenever we have excess seeds, any of the farmers or any of the cooks have excess seeds, or myself when I'm out gathering and I'm going getting some trees and that, then you can come along and you can deposit the seeds in here. And that just allows us to, free of charge, I am day 5, new to the server, there's a seed bank. I want 5 camas bulbs. Yoink. I've got them. Now if I want to, I can actually use them for food as well. Any one of these for food. But this is a seed bank. This is supposed to help the server out. So I really would appreciate people to use it, but not to exploit it. It is a very nice little thing. And it's a simple building that's just effective with the little cart park in the front of it. We do have a couple of other builds going on. I've been very careful not to show too much of that. There are other builds that are currently going on, and a couple of new people have moved in onto the servers. You can see their little houses here. We will do a little bit more of an investigation into what other people are doing on the server. You can see these lovely little houses that are popping up everywhere and starting to really fill out IronCall. But if you have anything you would like to see, don't be afraid to send it along. We currently have 2 other projects underway, one of which is going to be probably a week-long build, and I will have to bring in other people on it as well. But more about that later, we don't want to give too much away. And the next build is just about finished as well, and we might finish off that on camera, do a bit of footage showing you some of those as well, and yeah, we'll work from there. But as for now guys, I think that's been long enough. Thank you very much for your time and your patience. If you have anything you'd like to add, if there's anything you'd like to say, don't be afraid to share it. And as always, have a good one, and I'll catch you next time. Laters.